They lost their son and grandson in a horrific stabbing in Maryland Heights, but they haven't lost their faith. Good evening, I'm Art Holliday. Thank you for staying up with us.
And I'm Ann Allred. 2 people are now charged with the murders of Malcolm Mathis II and his child, who had the same name.
The suspects are Mathis's nephew and his girlfriend.
5 on your side's Chris Davis spoke exclusively to the heartbroken grandparents who are turning to their faith to cope with this horrible tragedy, Chris.
They are truly a remarkable family, and there are 3 generations of Malcolms in this family. So to avoid any confusion, they call Malcolm II B2 and Malcolm III B3. And remarkably, through their tremendous grief, this family has found a reason to give thanks. On a wall all by itself,
I miss that smile, I miss the chuckles,
are pictures, little moments in time of Malcolm Mathis's life.
He was an awesome brother, an awesome uncle. That was Malcolm B.
Which makes it that much harder.
Shock, disbelief, anger.
That in a moment, that all went away.
Don't take the next second for granted.
Malcolm II, or as his family called him, B2, was an IT technician at Monsanto. In his spare time, he worked with the St. Louis chapter of the Black Data Processing Associates that helped students learn computer skills.
He worked through the organization to get each person that joined a computer.
They say their grandson, B3, at only 22 months, was already showing a personality that shined as brightly as his father's.
Malcolm B had a $1 million smile. B3 had a $500,000 smile. And he was working on getting it up to $1 million.
B1 says it was that same sense of selflessness that drove his son to help his wife's troubled nephew.
He had some difficulty with him, but he moved beyond the difficulty so that he can try to help him to get better.
That same nephew now sits behind bars accused of Malcolm's murder.
We don't understand what the motivation was behind his act.
Through the tears, the Mathis family says they'll lean on each other and their faith.
That could have been a tragedy for the whole family, but my granddaughter lived. That's the goodness of God.
They believe little Mila is still alive because her mother came home in just the nick of time and pushed through the shock of the horrific crime scene to save her daughter.
She must have saw some life in Mila, and the neighbor called 911 for her. But at that time, our son and our grandson were gone.
Gone from this earth, but always in their hearts and on this wall, all by itself.
We can't take any moment for granted. Life can change at a moment.
Now, that 4-year-old Mila was unconscious throughout most of last night, but is said to be partially awake today and in stable condition at the hospital. Mila's aunt, who was also injured in the stabbing, remains in critical condition. Art.
Chris, if people want to help the family, is there anything they can do?
There is actually a fund that's been set up at Commerce Bank to help Susan Mathis, Malcolm's widow, with funeral expenses, and you can actually donate at any of their locations.
Thank you, Chris.